A battlefield 120 kilometers west of Moscow. This is where one of the world's most revered military figures, Napoleon, won a battle but lost a war in 1812. His strong army failed to strike the knockout blow that Napoleon so badly needed. He had amassed an army of about 500,000 men, half of them French and the rest from Confederate countries. He was in need of a big success to bolster his reputation at home as a hero. Napoleon's tactics had served him well and made him master of most of Europe. He would drive his quarry into a massive battle and defeat them and force them into a peace agreement that favoured France. At the end of this September day in 1812, the ground was strewn with tens of thousands of corpses and wounded. Waging war with Russia, but it was not going his way. The Russians fought gallantly and retreated in good order. Napoleon had failed to deliver a quick and crushing blow. He did go on to take Moscow, but only what was left of it, as the Russians had set the city on fire. The Russians also evacuated the city and continued the fight by using single raids and guerrilla tactics. Recently, the battlefield was identified and archaeologists began work on learning as much as possible of this historic battle by sifting through the remnants. The skeletons are in a mass grave located in the Lithuanian capital city of Vilnius. It's difficult to estimate the number of Napoleon's soldiers that rest here. Numbers range from 10 to 30,000. Originally, the remains were thought to belong to victims of another dictator, Stalin, but careful archaeological examination revealed the truth. Napoleon had left many wounded to die from disease, cold and starvation. In all fairness, historians point out that he had little choice but to leave the wounded. Medical practice on the battlefield was still in its infancy. The dig is located at an old Soviet barracks, which is undergoing redevelopment. The archaeologists are racing against time as the development is rapidly closing in on their dig site. The Russians dug out trenches and placed the bodies within. In the vaults of Lithuania's museum, lithographs depict scenes from these grim times. It was the winter of 1812, and it was severe for Napoleon's men. Some had even thrown their guns away as it was too cold to hold them. The men had light uniforms, and the plunging temperatures of -20 degrees were a killer. At this time, Napoleon had continental Europe at his feet, and he crowned himself Emperor of France. His reputation as the great man of Europe endured for decades. In these turbulent times, many thousands more of his soldiers would fall in battle and become forgotten. But Napoleon's own place in history remains secure. Many of the corpses are found in the fetal position, indicating that most of them had died from cold as well as war-inflicted wounds. At a forensic studio, work began to discover the exact causes of their death. Typhus and cholera are thought to be among the killers. A cemetery church was chosen as a place to store the bones until, one by one, each bag is investigated. After the forensic inspection, the ghostly soldiers will be reburied and left to rest in peace. Although the Russians stripped the bodies of valuables, some items, such as buttons, have been recovered. Napoleon had fully expected to beat the Russians, but for him and his men, this battle was an epic disaster. Napoleon's reign ended with a devastating defeat at Waterloo during 1815, but his legendary status is still with us today. For some, he is the essence of power, as he didn't let anything stand in his way, neither his enemies or his soldiers, that served him till death.
Yeah.